Hey guys, so you see this man on my screen here? See, before I even get into the gist of the story, there's always been something about elderly people that I would look at them and say, oh, this is so cute. Like, look at him just walking on his own, or look at him just doing his thing. Especially when I see elderly people in a couple, they would be struggling with their little wheelchair, and just trying to get to places. And I always said, may God give us life to get to this age, And this was my impression about older people. But there was one time I was in Romania and I met this older lady, and she looked so adorable with her husband, and I made some really cute remarks, and she looked at it and says, you don't want to live the life I have lived. She had to shut up through the abuse, through a lot of things that happened, and it changed the way I thought about people. And then I realized one thing. Do you realize that everyone who is bad today turns out to be old one day? Every bandit, every terrorist, every assassin, everyone that is young today gets to be old at one point. And when you see them like that, all wrinkly and nice, and you feel sympathetic to them. But let's get into his story right now. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the story about this guy, his name is Robert, and he is a 76-year-old man. And how does his story go? So, he was arrested at the airport when he was heading to the Philippines. And you know why he was arrested? Because they had to trail him. They had previously arrested a man from the Philippines, and they noticed that Robert had spent over $200,000. He had sent over $200,000 to that particular guy. And why did they arrest that guy? Because he had a business of filming underage children being, and he was such a big client of theirs. They would set up cameras, do everything they had to do to children, little children. I'm talking 4, 7, 12 years old children. And they caught him because he was heading to this Philippines. Apparently, it wasn't enough to just visualize these things. And mind you, there were thousands of men also there, because apparently this is a thing, I always draw my line when it comes to children. Always draw my line when it comes to children. I don't understand it. I feel like it's a sickness at this point, because what are we doing? For a man at that age to have so much money to spare for this kind of behavior is unrealistic. But anyway, when they arrested him, he was on his way to the Philippines, because over there they had arranged a 12-year-old for him. And in his suitcase, he had pills, the blue kind, he had gifts he was going to gift them. He had all kinds of things. And when they checked his apartment, he had 15 devices. Who has 15 devices full of content of minors? Full, completely full. And then you sit and you hear stories like this, and you ask yourself, is prison really enough for people like these? Is prison really enough? I mean, don't get me wrong, in the prison system, especially in the States, when they hear what you're in there for, because this information is going to be shared between the inmates, you already know what time it is. This guy will wish they had just him at once, But when I think of things like this, and these are the future children, right now the government in Philippines is trying their best to rescue those children and find a safe place for them. But it is ridiculous what we do as people. How do we get here? How are we here? How are we still having these conversations? Why is it that I need to always caution my daughter and beware of this and beware of that? Do you know how exhausting it is, honestly, sometimes to be a woman living on this earth? You're always looking over your shoulder. You're always double checking, triple checking, be cautious, be this. It is so exhausting. And you still have to survive. And mind you, it is exhausting for me as an adult. Imagine having to deal with this as children. A few months ago, we found there was a website that was released with millions of men that were on certain sites. And that site was educating men on how to drug their wives and abuse them and do all kinds of things, terrible things. And I was in shock, like, wow, millions. And yes, out of, I think it was about 60 something million men. And out of curiosity, when people heard, it jumped up to 80 something million. I didn't even want to go check that. Like, I don't want to be involved with that. And just yesterday I saw a story, and mind you, yes, the ratios are big, but let's not forget women too. I watched a story about a little girl, a lady who now she's older, but she was telling her story of how she got adopted at, I think, 14. Yes, I think around either 14 or 17. I can't remember exactly. She was adopted by a woman who desperately wanted a child. She wanted a child, and because she was older, the state refused to give her the child, a little baby. So out of her desperation, they gave her options. They said, see, listen, you can get a baby that is already bigger, because of your age, you might not be able to handle a newborn. And what does she do? Within 24 hours, she called back the adoption agency and said, yeah, give me a child. So they prepared this little girl, I think between 14 or 17, that had just lost her mother, and she had no other family. So she adopted this girl, and not even long after she got there, groomed her, made her feel comfortable and everything. And after that, this lady, because she was still desperate to have her own child, since the state refused to give it to her, she decided to go make a deal with some dude, to get his DNA, his spunk. And then she pinned this girl down with wires, and with a turkey baster, she did what she was supposed to do to the little child, which was still a V. This is what human beings do. Like, help me understand that. So now this woman, she's older, she has a 21-year-old son, and I'm like, what is going on? Why are we in this world with things like this? Why is there? And you think that the idea of having religion, would help people feel like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go this route, but it doesn't change anything. People go to churches, act, hold their Bible like this, and then still go out and create atrocities like this. We need a system that eliminates this kind of behavior completely. See, I always say I'm a very soft person, right? But for certain things, my heart is like rocks. It's like stone. There's no discussing behaviors like these. Because what are you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, you knew exactly what you were doing. There are certain behaviors you can't forgive because you made a conscious decision to do a certain thing. The only thing you're sorry about is that you got caught. That's the only thing majority of you are sorry about. And we speak about this man over here, Mr. Robert, very adorable old man with his pink cheeks. We speak about those, but we have them here also in Nigeria. We have them here. We have them in families. We have them as uncles. We have them as brothers. But what do? Majority of the time when we find out that we have an uncle like this or a brother like this, we cover it up. Because you cannot expose family, because family is everything. You keep the monsters in your homes with your children. You're equally as bad as the rest of them. That's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed my little story about Mr. Robert, because this is the reality children have to deal with. This is the reality of what's going on in our societies that we don't want to talk about. We need to start talking about those really uncomfortable things that give us the ick. And unfortunately, because of community guidelines, we can't even show certain photos. So people understand the gravity of what is truly going on in our society, in our world. No wonder the world is actually going to shits right now. Have you noticed all the floods, all the earthquakes, all the snowfalls? Have you noticed what is going on? There are things in the sea that should never be seen ever. They're now surfacing to the top, This world is going one at a time. I hope you guys are ready though. Because with this kind of behavior, we all know where you're going. I'm just saying. Bye now.